Hello, my name is Matt. Welcome to Unbearable 73. It's time to review The Orville, Season 3, Episode 3, Mortality Paradox. So let's start with the end. We'll go back to, as I have my new slide to explain, people points out. First, I will give you my final thoughts on last week's episode, but with full spoilers, a short section on that. Then I'll make any comments about any production issues or compliments for this episode. Then I'll give you kind of partial spoiler review of the episode, but not enough. But I won't reveal anything that should reveal the outcome of the episode. And then I'll follow that pattern. So when I do episode 4, I will do first the full spoilers of this episode, and so on and so forth. So on to the talk. So following up with episode 2, the episode's primary theme was Lovecraftian horror. I mean, if you haven't read a lot of Lovecraft or whatever, maybe you won't get that. But so basically, Christie was doomed to die due to the lack of caution and fear when it came to investigating the unknown. That's a theme in Lovecraftian horror. If it's an ensemble, there's always that one dude who's like, who has an attitude of we can overcome it, we can overcome this unknown stuff, or doesn't take the risk seriously, or whatever. And you can pretty much predict that dude is doomed to die, and possibly a very horrible death in Lovecraftian terms. Unfortunately, he took several crew members with him. I will say with this episode 3, I was a little disappointed there wasn't a little bit of immediate follow up, but I guess you kind of presume they did some follow, that they had time between the episodes to sort of process that. Now, did it fit the theme of the Orville in the past have an episode like this? Now, let's remember, I'm not talking about the deaths in the episode in particular, but the tone and storytelling with horror elements. But anyway, this is really only the second season of McFarlane's Total Control of the Orville. You gotta discount that first season because of the mandated humor in the first 4 or 5 episodes. I think this season now is going to be McFarlane establishing what the Orville is going to be for the rest of its life. The type of episodes he has, the general storytelling elements. Last week was kind of like almost like not a reboot, but a real full first season compared to the actual first season. And I think putting these Lovecraftian elements is a nice little touch. Space should be a little scary. And Star Trek at its best showed that space was scary. Now, it didn't go quite as far as, say, Alien did. And I'm not saying I want the Orville to be Alien either. But having been, maybe trying to get that tone closer to TOS where there was a legitimate threat from unknown things that could screw you over, rather than TNG where they really more encountered cultural problems for the most part. Now, anyway, although I have to say Seth has to resist the urge to solve this group of aliens. They shouldn't be solved. They should just be contained or dealt with the entirety of the Orville's run. Now on to the issue that caused me to dock the rating by 2 whole points, though there's an interesting question related to that. A lot of the difficulties in this episode could have been avoided or ameliorated by using Isaac more, or Isaac's abilities more. He's completely inorganic, which means that he certainly should have been involved in investigating the space station once they had to go back there. Okay, he's also blatantly superhuman, even more so than Tala. He has sensors all around his body, which means when they were doing the engineering search and looking for the duct that had the dampening field, he should have been more the primary one to find it than Lamar. I understand that's Lamar's moment, but they could have really teamed that where Isaac is using his sensors to search in a wider basin. Lamar is like working with Isaac to narrow it down. I would have liked a little better team up there. It seems that they're afraid to use Isaac's abilities because they don't want to turn him into Data, which kind of overwhelms the rest of the cast if they do that. Now, the really interesting question about Isaac was when the mutant encountered him. Why didn't Isaac capture it? Okay, that could be the bad writing again. Not there's a lot of bad writing, but it could be and do the aliens know what the Kaylon are? I mean, maybe the Kaylon is the reason they don't leave that expanse. I don't know. But we know these aliens are sapient, and he didn't even attack Isaac. So was that because Isaac had no reproductive value to him? Or was he just knew he couldn't deal with Isaac in any physical way? We don't know. But I found that scene interesting. I wonder if it's going to play out in the future. Another flaw that caused the show a bit was them leaving the mutating admiral unattended by security. I mean, I know this is a bit lighter. It's not like a heavy, the tone of it's a little lower, lesser than serious. Not this is not taken seriously, but it just seems like a bit of flaw there. Also, it seems like a really big security flaw. Anyone that's Kojic and outright the captains. Kirk was able to do what he did in Star Trek 2 because Khan had no idea about that capability. Okay. Otherwise, that would have been a moot capability. So it seems that the final authority on the ship should always be the captain. Now, I did enjoy the discussion about the crew's warnings about the Expanse. Both Halsey and Mercer understand that the crew interpreting something via their religion does not mean a supernatural event or a species, but rather a cultural coping mechanism. So now on to this. Now we're done with my comment of episode 2. We'll go to episode 3. I want to say this again and again. I'm actually going to play something to make the point. The visuals are not only well crafted but well directed. They're not just using CGI to animate the space scenes, but the ships move. They're all properly, so there's no excessive motion. They don't just randomly fly in circles to show off the special effects or anything. Like, let's watch this a little bit here, and I'll turn it on for you. This is Tala approaching the shuttle. Look, she flies straight towards the ship. She's coming from the front end, so she has to fly around the ship. She doesn't do wiggly wagglies or fly in the ship's structure. She flies around. She points at the bay, and she flies right in. And the shuttle learns and efficient motion lands, space is ready to go out. Blah. And the point I'm getting at there is that we've seen them when they do CGI on other sci-fi shows that they, it seems like they animate stuff just for the heck of it, like extra motion the characters didn't need or the ships didn't need or whatever. That was well targeted, directed. I mean, it fit the events that were occurring, but it was still beautiful. Okay? So now we're going to talk about the current episode 3, with the half spoilers, so to speak. This episode reminded me a lot in several ways of the episode Parallels from the 7th season of Star Trek The Next Generation, but don't take that statement the wrong way. This Orville episode doesn't contain thousands upon thousands of alternate realities or anything like that. It's just more how the episode flowed, where it stemmed from a singular event involving a singular character and branched out to affecting multiple characters and setting manipulation. Okay, just the sort of flow reminded me of it. We open with Tala returning the Orville to the Orville from a trip to our homeworld. Upon her return, we get what I suspect is something that many people will miss or downplay or ignore. She submits a report about Kaelon activity. Now, I'm predicting this will come back as a future episode hook, but I'm not saying any more about that until I can discuss the full spoilers at the beginning of next week's review. Now, okay, so my next point. Due to the nature of the actual plot, there are a lot of elements in this episode that serve more as explorations of character rather than plot. For example, Malloy lets himself get the crap beat out of him. Now, this is an indication that he's an extreme pacifist, or he basically sucks at self-defense. You would think he'd have decent hand-to-hand skill training and be required to maintain those. We see Boris and Tala have no problems engaging in defensive violence. Now next, we finally see Grayson stop Mercer from just walking straight into danger. Now, I say Mercer should sit in the ship at all times, but I think that Grayson and Mercer should not leave the ship at the same time if there's any possibility of danger. Okay? One last thought. The scene where Lamar was in command on the Orville and he ordered Isaac to take the shuttle down. Isaac was clearly going to interject in sending another shuttle down when I don't know what happened to the first one. And Burke made her interjection containing another character attack on Isaac. I was a little disappointed that Isaac did not order her to shut up, basically, and tell Isaac to complete a statement. However, I don't blame that on bad writing. I think that this is a character flaw that Lamar has. He's a little more emotional on the cuff. He doesn't, he's not used to the command. We have to listen to people on those decisions, So that's it for now. Again, I haven't watched other people's reviews of this episode yet, but I've heard people a little down on this one. I'll know more in a couple days. To me, this is about as good as the last one. The ending sort of sold me on it. Had it not ended the way it did, I think it would have been a 5 out of 10, but the end made it a 7.5 out of 10. So, comment down below if you have any questions for me about this video. Please share your thoughts. Share this video if you enjoyed it. Like if you like. Dislike if you dislike. Subscribe if you want to hear more from me. My name is Matt. This has been Unbearable 73. Have a nice day. I am out of here.